Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is TamezTech and welcome to a brand new video. So, if you guys have been playing the Go Battle League, you know that the Jungle Cup has been a force to be reckoned with this season. This is the second rotation we have of the Jungle Cup, and me personally, I am absolutely sick of it. So, thankfully, one of the trainers playing the Jungle Cup is ready to send it off with a very, very interesting team. Let's go ahead and check out what that team is. Very cool, interesting pick with KECLEON here. Is KECLEON a good Pokemon? I would argue it's an absolutely terrible one. However, it looks like this trainer can play some very interesting matchups here and maybe even some surprise nukes with this Ice Beam. So let's go ahead and get into these battles and see what this trainer can pull off with KECLEON. KECLEON double flyer line. We see Altaria in the lead in the very first match, and I'm hoping that this Ice Beam lands. Straight 8 pacing to Ice Beam isn't amazing, but it is it is double super effective. It fully knocks out the Altaria, and this opponent is just in complete shambles. Fortress comes in, and honestly, not a terrible matchup for both of the flyers we have in the back, actually. So I don't hate the idea of staying in with KECLEON and doing some damage, but I would have preferred a pivot. You probably don't want to come in down energy. I guess that's mostly the main reason why you would stay in, just to tank a debuffing move and just pivot out. Corviknight is the correct play here, since we do not have to shield any rock tombs or sand tombs for that matter. Honestly, the sand tomb on the KECLEON earlier was a little bit of a crazy pull. But yeah, the opponent has a Crustle in the back, which is definitely a scary Pokemon to see. Very hard answers to both of our flyers here. KECLEON comes in. The opponent just has no idea what KECLEON counts are, which I guess is a very fair play. They take the full farm down of the KECLEON. Now, Altaria, I believe, is going to have to tank a Rock Wrecker if they do bring it in. So I do like the idea of kind of just sacking the Corv here, getting some farm on Altaria. The opponent actually brings in Fortress here, and it looks like they don't really outpace or get to 2 moves. So I guess this is just going to be a very easy GG. I would have preferred the opponent at least try and get a shield with the Rock Wrecker. I thought they had a little bit more energy left on their Fortress, but I guess not. And we're able to take that first game pretty comfortably as well. All right, we see Dedenne in the lead, and oh my god, this is an absolutely chaotic matchup to go against. This thing basically rolls the entire team here, so I do not hate the idea of just staying in here with KECLEON. The opponent actually brings in Guzzlord here, which is definitely a scary Pokemon to see. We do land the Ice Beam. Guzzlord, however, it does pace pretty quickly here. Unfortunately, when the Guzzlord came in, we threw on alignment, so we let an entire Dragon Tail through, but that is okay. Thankfully, we are able to bank an Ice Beam and hopefully put in some work here. I believe maybe Corviknight is going to go for the full farm down here. It's going to have to take 2 brutal swings, but that should be totally fine. Coming out with all of this energy against this Dedenne, it's not really going to do much. It is resisted, but Dedenne isn't quite tanky. So they actually shield a resisted air cutter there, which is, I guess I'll take it. That's totally fine. We are now at shield parity, and Altaria is not going to have a terribly comfortable matchup here. Maybe, oh man, I really like that play. Unfortunately, KECLEON does lose charge attack priority by quite a bit here. Dedenne even full sends the play rough there, but we do get a shield back with the Ice Beam. Flamethrower should be able to knock out. Opponent pivots into Caesar here. Very nice timing by our trainer here, just making sure we don't take that Night Slash worth of damage, just in case we have to tank a parabolic charge. But Altaria, very great energy management here. We are able to land the Flamethrower and barely Dragon Breath down before they get to a play rough there. So very, very well played by our opponent, but not well enough. We see Gary in the lead in the next match, and honestly, non-Shadow Gyarados doesn't really pose too much of a threat. The opponent does throw on alignment here, which is a little bit toxic. Oh, actually, that wasn't a cap tie. I'm pretty surprised by that. The animation really made it look like it was. Regardless, though, we are able to tank them first, so it looks like KECLEON might be able to win the 2 shield matchup here. These Dragon Breaths are really not doing much from the non-shadow. The opponent makes a very, very great catch onto Gastrodon. They actually even sneak a move. We can't really overfarm too much here, unfortunately. I would have liked to see Altaria come in here instead, just because Corviknight does have a slightly better matchup against the Gyarados, and Altaria has a very, very dominant matchup against this Gastrodon. So I would have liked to see that play instead, but this should still work out fine. Gary does have close to an Aqua Tail bank, but yeah, I don't think it would knock out from there regardless. Again, it's non-shadow Gyarados, which I definitely think is kind of a misplay. Amazing catch from our battler here, the Manzolorian, bringing out the crazy catches here. Very well played there. We do bring back in the Corviknight. I would have liked to see the Altaria come in. The Captai is not ideal here. Altaria should still be able to take the win here, but these debuffs are definitely gonna put in some work. This Cradily is on Bullet Seed as well. I would definitely recommend going for Acid if you are running Cradily, just a little bit more fast move pressure. Bullet Seed is a little bit quicker, but not quick enough. It looks like after the 2 paybacks, Corviknight should be able to send its attack down, so Cradily does have to throw energy whether they like it or not. They bring in Gyarados here, which is honestly, I don't hate that play. It doesn't look like Cradily can get to more than 1 more Rock Tomb. However, you probably do want to get the debuff before swapping out regardless, right? So the opponent basically just gives us the farm down we need, and yeah, we're able to take that game. A little bit of a misplay there by the opponent. Maybe if they stayed in with Cradily debuffed and then pivoted into Gyarados, they could have won that game. But regardless, we see Mightyena in the lead in the next match, and obviously it's not a positive matchup for KECLEON here. The resisted Sucker Punches are not going to do much, and again, non-Shadow Mightyena. I guess a lot of people are very interested in the new teams that creators are building, but they just don't have the shadows to compensate for that. But yeah, we see non-Shadow Quagsire as well come in with the Water Guns. These Water Guns are really not going to chunk enough. Corviknight is able to get to a payback, and honestly, probably even an Air Cutter here. The opponent does throw energy to avoid tanking another move. Yeah, we bring back in the KECLEON. Hopefully, Altaria can clean up that Mightyena in the back line. KECLEON does shield the Aqua Tail. Probably not super ideal, but we do bank a bunch of energy. Full send the Ice Beam against this Mightyena. This should come close, or I guess fully knock out there. And Quagsire comes back in. So it looks like they might be a little bit weak to KECLEON in the back. Maybe, possibly. They might have a flyer that doesn't really want to see Ice Beam, which is probably why they brought back in the Quagsire here. Quagsire does let the foul play go. They get fully farmed down before they get to a Stone Edge, and we see a Wigglytuff in the back, so that is definitely not a flyer. Honestly, if you have a very high rank Altaria, which it looks like our trainer does have one here, you should be able to get to double Sky Attack before getting fully knocked out. However, it does seem like this Wigglytuff knows the tech here, so they are going to be throwing energy right away. KECLEON comes in trying to get some desperate Sucker Punches in. Honestly, those things were really chunking there, but unfortunately, we are barely not able to take that game. Honestly, insanely close considering the atrocious backline, but nonetheless, GG's to the opponent there. All right, we see KECLEON into Ferrothorn in the next match, and Ferrothorn actually throws on alignment here. They give us a free Sucker Punch, so very ideal. Unfortunately, we throw on alignment back here, so we give them back the energy they gave us. And if we did throw on good timing, we would have been able to outpace to the second foul play. So that's a very important thing to know for your next games. If we throw on good timing, and especially the opponent doesn't, we might be able to force shields when they didn't have to expend them. We actually full send the Ice Beam there to guarantee a knockout. Very nice play by the Manzolorian here. And we are able to outpace to a foul play before Charizard can Dragon Breath us down. We bring in Altaria. Of course, Charizard would go absolutely crazy against the Corviknight in the back. So if we can get some damage in here, Charizard baits with an Air Cutter, which is definitely not necessary, but they are probably going to be full sending the Blast Burn here. They don't. They actually bait again, which is a crazy play. And they have Swampert in the back, so they are pretty weak to flying. Hopefully, it looks like we will be able to survive a Hydro or a Sludge, whichever moveset they choose to throw. So maybe we can even get to another Sky Attack there. The Manzolorian trying for a catch of the Sludge into the Corviknight. Very decent attempt there. Unfortunately, the opponent very patient here, holding on to their energy before they start throwing all these moves off. And it looks, however, we should still be able to get to a payback. So our opponent is going to pivot out, bring in the Charizard, which is a very scary Pokemon. Unfortunately, it looks like we don't get to the payback before getting much shot down, but the opponent still throws energy, which is really decent for us. At this point, we should, once again, still be able to survive a move. And I get to the Sky Attack, but here we are with the catch. Definitely not necessary, but some style points are very, very well deserved here. So GG's to the opponent there. Very well played. All right, we see Abomasnow in the lead in the next match, and even though we have very good coverage with our backline flyers into this Pokemon, these Weather Balls are still going to chunk. We have resisted and neutral fast moves into it. Of course, you don't want to bring an Altaria into this Pokemon because, I mean, you're just going to get rolled, right? But the opponent brings in a Gastron, and I am guessing they might have a Scizor back there. Maybe they are just so weak to flying in the back, and that's what Obama is tasked to do in the front. But man, that is a very crazy pairing nonetheless. We do bring in Altaria here. We should be able to get a full Dragon Breath down here and just get an insane amount of energy ready for that Abomasnow. Try to get those shields down and hopefully knock that thing out in the end. We get pretty close to 2 Sky Attacks here. Of course, Abomasnow comes back in. I am pretty confident they're going to be shielding these moves. This is a very good counter to Altaria here with Abomasnow, especially the Shadow one. These Powder Snows double super effective. Altaria is already on the yellow. The opponent makes a very decent catch on Quagsire. They react in time for the combo play. Unfortunately, we were 1 Sucker Punch off of the Pow play, so we weren't quite able to take a full snipe attempt there, but regardless, we should be able to overfarm just a little bit here. KECLEON actually winning Charge Attack priority against Quagsire. Very important to know there. And we should be barely able to get to another foul play to fully knock out this Abomasnow and almost take this game. We should be able to Dragon Breath this all the way down. Abomasnow did have quite a bit of energy, but not quite enough to take a full knockout here, and that's going to be a GG. Very scary game there for sure, but getting rid of that Abomasnow, very, very well played. All right, we see KECLEON into Dilly in the next match, and we do have Ice Beam, super effective Ice Beam here. Cradily is kind of a problem Pokemon for our backline here, so I don't hate the shield, but shielding first against a Cradily is just a little bit unfortunate. Of course, these moves are going to be debuffed. This is a super effective Ice Beam, and it lands, so we should be able to tank a Rock Tomb here and get a full Sucker Punch down if the opponent allows it. So here we are. These Sucker Punches definitely not chunking as much as one would want. We are kind of forced to throw energy here, but we are 1 away from the foul play. Hopefully we should be able to get to this foul play against anything that comes in. The opponent brings in Greninja though, so definitely not ideal. Corviknight can definitely put in some work here, but man, it looks like Double Hydro is going to come pretty close to knocking out. I wonder if this opponent has kind of a break point into our Corviknight here, because man, that Hydro did quite a bit of damage. We are not going to be surviving another Hydro Cannon. We put up the shield. The opponent baits with a Night Slash. They get the boost, and everything is crumbling down very, very hard here. The opponent might try for a full farm down. They do not get it. We catch on the KECLEON. Unfortunately, though, we had so much energy on that thing. I am not sure if that was the ideal play. We can bring back in the Corviknight and throw an Air Cutter, but that's not really going to knock out. So I don't hate the idea of bringing in Altaria here, but this is looking extremely dire. Another Night Slash, which they are going to get to, is going to put us pretty close to the red HP here. If not already at it. Yeah, they get another boost, and unfortunately, we're just we're just not going to see the back line here. Altaria should be able to get a farm down here, but unless it's a Scizor in the back, I don't think we're going to be able to knock anything out, and it is a Togekiss. So, man, I mean, I have been saying it. If you ever watch my streams, I always say they need to nerf Mudslap. They need to nerf Night Slash. But regardless, we see a very interesting lead matchup in the next game. We see Lit Leo into KECLEON here. We did miss out on one sucker punch there. We could have done 7 in the move instead of 6, but it's not completely terrible. Leo actually tanks the first foul play. Honestly, very decent bulk on this Pokemon. And unfortunately, I do get a full farm down with the flame charge onto the Incinerate there, but they pivot out into a jump lift when we bring in the Altaria. We land the Sky Attack, which is really decent, and of course now we bring in Corviknight. Corviknight is going to be able to completely wall all of the energy from jump lift. 3 acrobatics look like they will come pretty close to knocking out regardless though, so we do have to be a little bit careful here. It won't be a bad idea to have some energy ready for that Litleo in the back line. That Litleo is still pretty much alive and well, so we have to be a little bit careful. Hopefully, if we get an Air Cutter boost, maybe we can farm down Litleo before they get to another move, but I do see it a little bit unlikely. I like the pivot into the Altaria here. However, I think we still have to shield. They probably have Crunch, right? Yeah, they're running Flame Charge Crunch. They have their own Altaria in the back, which is definitely not ideal. I'm hoping this opponent Altaria doesn't have Moonblast. I know that a lot of trainers have been running Moonblast here in the Jungle Cup. Personally, I would no shield this, but it's looking a little bit dire. They do have the Moonblast, so never mind. Screw me. Very decent shield there. And it looks like our win con at this point is going to be either catching or pivoting into our Corviknight here. We pivot into Corviknight. We don't quite get the catch, but we do get an Air Cutter through. And this is very crucial damage here because it will allow us to hopefully farm down Altaria later. Altaria did, however, farm pretty good here. Sky Attack is going to be able to take the knockout, and unfortunately them throwing the Sky Attack there is going to win them the game because they can just get to another Sky Attack and take the full knockout. So very unfortunate for us there. Maybe if we threw a little bit better timing with the Leo, we could have gotten to a second move on our KECLEON here. All right, we see KECLEON into Talonflame, and now we throw on good timing. So we throw after 7, we have a little bit of residual energy, and now we should be able to. Honestly, we could tank a fly and get to a foul play, but we choose not to. Opponent pivots into a Wigglytuff. Very crazy team here already. Talonflame Wigglytuff. And honestly, not terrible for us. We can align this thing into Corviknight. Corviknight is practically our only counter to Wigglytuff here. So definitely working out the intended way. These Air Cutters, however, especially after the Icy Wind debuff, are not going to be doing tremendous amounts of damage. Honestly, this matchup is disgustingly close considering that Wigglytuff is such a hard countered Pokemon to Corviknight. Opponent makes a very, very beautiful catch and sneak of the Air Cutter onto the Corviknight. They are going to send the fly here, which is pretty unfortunate because they do get to another one. If they sent the Brave Bird, that would have been ideal. But regardless, we do get a very decent farm down here. Our trainer here making a very tactical play here, trying to burn the switch clock just a little bit. Unfortunately, we can't burn it by too much. Talonflame is quite speedy to its moves. We bring in Corviknight. We're kind of just sacking it at this point, I'm guessing. Corviknight is the wiggly answer. The opponent pivots instantly into Chestnut, and what do you know? It is a friggin' Chestnut back there. It's definitely not what I expected here. Chestnut should be farming up to the back-to-back here. And once again, our opponent not throwing, our trainer here not throwing a lot of fast moves here, making sure that we can get the most amount of energy here. Anything Chestnut throws here is going to be very, very resisted here. But unfortunately, it looks like we have to survive 2 charms to get to our Sky Attack. And we just barely don't, man. We needed just a little bit more energy there. Literally lost by 1 turn. Very unfortunate, but regardless, a very well played game. All right, we see Gastron on the lead in the next match, and I'm guessing it's not a super positive lead for our KECLEON, so we're going to pivot out. We do have 2 answers to that Pokemon in the back, so if we can bait something out for our ABB line, that would be tremendously ideal. That is definitely how it works out as well, though. We see a Dunsparce come into our Corviknight save swap, which is ideal. Of course, Altaria does not want to see this. So Dunsparce is going to throw the 2 Rock Slides. These are not going to knock out, however. The fact that we landed a payback guarantees that we will get either shield or switch advantage out of this matchup. Very unfortunate. It looks like a rollout snuck there when it definitely shouldn't have. So that might have been an animation error or something. Very unfortunate cap tie here as well. If we don't cap tie, we actually do just take the switch advantage here. It looks like one sand attack should be just enough to knock out there. But it looks like our trainer here does want to keep alignment. Honestly, having that Altaria onto the Gastrodon would be tremendously ideal. They have a Caesar in the back, so switch advantage was extremely crucial for this matchup. And we should be able to take this game. We never have to shield the KECLEON. We just have to take a shield from this Caesar. And honestly, I would instantly pivot at this point. It looks like we are going to do one Sucker Punch and then pivot. Of course, it'd be ideal to pivot instantly. But I would obviously just shield the Caesar here. This is going to do the most amount of damage into our Altaria. Body Slam is not really too high damage into Altaria. And of course, Water Pulse is going to be resisted, so they're not going to be throwing that. And yeah, this matchup is just so extremely sad for our Gastrodon here. They are going to need probably 3 Body Slams to take a knockout here. And unfortunately for our opponent, they are definitely not going to be able to get there in time. So a reassignment would be ideal here, but we bring in KECLEON. We should be able to get to the foul play, so the opponent does throw energy here, but unfortunately for them, this is just game over. We are able to get the Dragon Breath down, and that's going to be a good game. And for the final game of the day, we have KECLEON into Caesar. Not ideal. We bring in Corviknight. The opponent does not want the smoke. They know that they don't have an answer to Corviknight, apparently, and we are able to take that game. So, very, very high praise. I really, really appreciate the Manzolorian for sending in these battles. I'm very happy to send off the Jungle Cup with a bang. I never want to see that thing again. Honestly, I am absolutely sick of it. But once again, thank you so much for sending the battles in, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it. If you do want to send me some battles, feel free to join my Discord server down in the description below. And yeah, we should chat a little bit about what we want to see and what we want to run and what we want to show. But yeah, once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all the love and support, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.